Hello. Hello, family. I'm an addict named Lynn. I'm nervous, so please bear with me. I want to thank the Indiana area for asking me to come here to Camp Mac. This place is awesome. I'm telling you. I have never been here before, and it's just so sacred. And I just want to thank the We Grow with Love group. This is the name of this convention, We Grow with Love. You know, I want to thank my father, my mother, my everything God for bringing me here. You know, at this place yesterday when I was walking around here, I got a telephone call right after I left a tree. And my daughter called to tell me that somebody ran a red light and hit my car that she was driving while I was here this weekend, and that they wrecked it. But I was real grateful that she wasn't hurt. The person that ran the red light wasn't hurt, and that I got full coverage insurance. And it's in my right name and right address. So I don't have too much to worry about. You know, when I asked God, I said, what do I need to talk about? And he wanted me to talk about how we grow with love. The theme of this convention, and tell you guys how in 17 and a half years, how you people and my God has helped me to grow with love. Because when I came into this fellowship 17 years ago, you know, I was a title, I was a wife, I was a mother, I was a co-worker, I was a friend, but I was a zombie living in a state of existence between here and there. A corpse, but not quite dead yet, because there was nobody home. And I hear a lot of the stories, and I hear things, and I hear people say dope house stories and walking up and down the alley and whatever, and I say, unbelievable. It was dope in my house. My husband sold dope, so I didn't have to do a lot of things that I heard a lot of you people did to get one more. I didn't have to run out of nothing. It was real hard for me to get what you people call recovery. And I remember when my job decided that I had a problem, and they told me that I needed to get some help. I wasn't as fortunate as a lot of you people to just say I hit bottom and I need some help, because I had some things to hide behind, you know, like a job, like a car, like a mortgage, like a lot of things that we call recovery around here. I hid behind those things and I called them recovery, so it was real difficult for me to even grasp this thing called love. And I remember when I was sent to treatment, and I went to treatment, and I was telling somebody that it was a contract out on my husband when I got clean. You know, I lived the life of New Jack City at nighttime and law and order in the daytime. It was very conflicting way of life to live that type of life, you know, in the criminal justice system by day and illegal activities by night. And when I come to these rooms of Narcotics Anonymous, for the first few months, I didn't know nothing about love. I thought love could be bought or love could be sold. I didn't know that love was something that is priceless, like recovery. Recovery cannot be bought. It cannot be traded. It cannot be sold, nor can it be manufactured. It can only be lived. Y'all told me I had a disease called addiction. And this disease has ways of manifesting itself in areas that have absolutely nothing to do with love. So when I got into the program of Narcotics Anonymous, because I had this disease and I thought I had a specific drug problem, so I went on a search and quest for this thing called love. And love took me to spaces and places and areas that the dope didn't even take me. Looking for love, trying to find love, trying to get it praised by love. Please love me, value me, tell me what I'm worth. Took me on a Star Trek Enterprise. I just went some things, and it's like I degraded myself in some areas that I thought only dope could do. Just looking for, please love me. Do you love me? Will you love me? And please, whatever you do, don't leave me. And to get you not to leave me, I would do whatever it took to get you not to leave me, because I was terrified, like the literature talked about. I was terrified at the thought of being alone. And I walked around this sacred place, and people say, Lynn, you walk by yourself. And it's a miracle for me to walk by myself. I am grateful to be able to walk by myself, because alone was something I couldn't do, wasn't going to do, and you weren't going to make me do. But it was the steps of Narcotics Anonymous with these spiritual principles that helped me to become a lady of some substance and purpose, where I can walk around these sacred grounds without having to try to borrow your husband, your man, or your woman, and hold my head up high. And my mother is dying right now. And it's real difficult for me, so it's like necessary for me to walk around here and just get centered with God, because when I go back home, I got to deal with some things. And my mother is 90 years old. And I need to talk about some love, because my mother is 90, and even though she's 90 years old, she's still my mother. She's in diapers, but that's still my mother. And I don't want to lose my mother, but my mother is leaving me, and there's absolutely nothing that I can do about it. So I cry quite a bit, and I go and I take care of my mother. And I got a brother that's coming home from prison next month, and you're talking about to grow with love, and I have to love this brother. And my brother has been in prison for the last few years for assault with intent to murder against my mother and my father. See, I'm talking about, I'm real grateful for everybody, and they talked about the no matter what's, and Mark talked last night about some no matter what's, and I need to talk to you about some of my no matter what's. I don't know what you need to do. I'm not one of those people that come up here and tell y'all how y'all need to recover. You know, what y'all should and should not be doing. The 10th tradition tells me we only talks about experience, drifts, and hope. Not preaching and judging and giving you opinions on what we need to do. Opinions is like buttholes. Everybody got one. They all full of mess. But I can tell you about some of my no matter what's. I got to love this brother. I only got one brother. And my brother decided to assault my parents. He assaulted them pretty bad. And they were 80-some years old at the time. And my father, he never recovered from his injuries. And he died. And I'm talking about love on a deep level, where I have to forgive my brother. And I was walking around here, and I was going to the tree, and I was walking on these sacred grounds they call holy grounds, because I got to forgive my brother for murdering my father and just devastating the family the way he has done. My father asked me to forgive my brother. Now, I wish I could tell you I had to forgive my brother for calling my mother out of her name or just saying some stuff. This is real big. Because if anybody ever had to experience their parents being badly beat by their brother, it's not a pretty picture. I was going to kill my brother. Now, it's just some things that I'm not going to say on this tape, because what you say can and will be used against you in the court of law. I'm not confused about it. It's some stuff I haven't went to jail for, so I'm not getting ready to share about it. I'll get with you after the meeting. But I was going to kill my brother. That's just the bottom line. I mean, that's some stuff that you're supposed to die over. I mean, the police wanted to kill my brother. I mean, everybody wanted to kill my brother. You know, and my brother was an addict, and addicts was telling me, you know, we really good at, giving you some lingos and some clever cliches when we ain't never experienced your dilemma nor found a way out. They said, what about who is an addict? I said, well, what did you do when your brother beat your mom and daddy up? They said, well, I ain't been there. I said, okay, well, then shut up. You know, we all great ones at telling you how you need to recover. But I'm a miracle standing here because God told me, he said, well, Lynn, I put you in a place and I put you in a space where you can deal with some people that, your brother, you ain't got to kill your brother. And I thank God for the criminals in the fellowship. I thank God for the thug lives in the fellowship because they have a place too. See, the criminals is the ones that came to me and say, baby, you don't want to walk the yard. You ain't never been in prison. You don't want to walk the yard for nobody. Give your brother to God. They told me I did 15 years, I did 9 years, I did this, and I want to kill your brother too. He said, but you don't want to do that. Let God, your other kids need you. Because see, them the only people I was hearing. I wasn't hearing the spiritual folk, who had never been there, my parents were in critical condition at the same time. I'm telling you, I came in this program and I stopped. I did not arm myself. I had disarmed myself. I stopped living like that. But when my father and my mother was assaulted, I picked up arms. Because it wasn't going to happen again. My brother was walking the streets. Did nobody know where he was? And it was not going to be a repeat. So I was telling addicts, don't come to my house right now. It's not a safe place for you to be. Because I had to come to believe. See, I'm talking about getting immediately with the steps as soon as I got here so I can come to believe in a power greater than me. See, because God, he knew what I was facing. He knew that my brother is coming home in July from prison. And he asked me to forgive him. And he wants to make some meetings. And I don't want to make no meetings with my brother. Matter of fact, I don't care if I never see my brother again. But that's my brother. And he writing me these letters talking about he was caught up in the grip of the disease. You know when people in prison, they get real spiritual and they write you all these letters and they giving their life to God and, so I'm scared. I'm scared. So I had to walk here because I haven't met too many people whose parents have, whose brother has killed their parents. I met one person whose son killed his mama, and January the 15th is my anniversary. On January the 13th, my father died of 2003. And on January the 15th, on my anniversary, I was at the funeral home identifying my father's remains, saying that he looked good. It was my 15th year anniversary. And God is so good, and this program is so good, that I was in Hilton Head doing the banquet. And I was talking to a guy there named Mr. Bill. That's my soul brother. We're different colors, but that's my twin. We got the same clean date. Our daddies died on the same day, the same year. They sang the same song at each one of us, at his father's funeral and my father's funeral. I didn't have to go through it by myself. You're never alone in this program. I want to say welcome to the newcomer. You're the most important person here. That we can only keep what we have by giving it away. And we will grow up in this process, and we will grow up in love. And you don't have to look for love like I did and search for love. And I'm real grateful that the brother talked about outside help, because I had to go get some. I had to get some outside help to deal with the grief. To deal with all of the tragedies and to learn how to love, because after I came in the program and I looked for love in so many bad places, and I had to be a wife because I didn't know how to be a woman. All I knew how to be was a wife. I had been a wife all my life, and I married. I made some bad decisions, and and I was telling some newcomers earlier today, how I came home early from work and I caught my husband in bed with another man. Now, at that time, there was no such thing as the down low brother. And a down low brother is nothing but a low down brother. I'm really proud of everybody that's out of the closet. Congratulations to everybody that's gay that says I'm gay. I am proud of you people. Thank you. Thank you. Because the tragedy of that situation sent me to the mental institution. I had a breakdown. Breakdown sometimes is necessary. Because God said, you know what, you ain't gonna pay no attention to me, so you need to break down so I can put you back together right. See, because there was no such thing as mere brothers on the down low. Oprah hadn't came out with the program yet. The guy hadn't wrote the book yet. Okay? The guy hadn't wrote the book yet. So it was a devastating situation for me when I went through that situation. And I told some people, and it was a lot of shame. You know, and then I went through the molestation of my daughter by the same individual. And it's real difficult how when people share things with people in the program and they say, well, I don't want to break his anonymities, but I'm not going to tell you that he molesting your daughter. See, we take this stuff and we twist it, and it's some real crazy stuff that we think that anonymity. You know, anonymity is when I go tell my mama about what you shared and she's not in the program. There's no anonymity among addicts. So I had to get back, keep coming, and learn how many times again to grow with love. To love again, to keep coming in the program, learn how to love and be with men. Because I was scared to talk to men, scared to date with men. So it was easy for me to become celibate and hide from love and hide from pain. I didn't know that when I blocked out the pain, I was also blocking out the love. I didn't know that love and pain goes like sunshine and rain. See, I didn't know that. I didn't know that they both go together. But I didn't know I was hiding because I didn't want to be hurt again. I was afraid, and I didn't believe that God was going to love me enough not to do that to me because he didn't do it to me in the first place. He didn't. The preachers didn't want to marry me and him. They told me, I said, oh, no, this is a travesty. And I said, oh, no. This is my husband. We're going to get married. They knew what it was like. And that was a long time ago. It was like 13 years ago. And I'm telling you, it was with these steps and these principles that helped me to be able to become the woman that I am today. To be able to come here and tell y'all, you don't have to use no matter what. You don't have to go through that process. You know, I went through my stepson getting murdered up in here, and I did not use. You know, my godson got murdered, and I didn't use. I heard that love don't live here no more. Yeah, I didn't use, and I didn't even stalk. That's good. I ain't break out no windows. I ain't kill nobody. See, I'm talking about a relationship that God has given me. You know, I hear a lot of people say that when they marry, they talk to married people. You know, I talk to people that are in love. I don't care what your label is. My parents were married 65 years. 65 years. And I never seen love. I saw marriage. I saw husband, I saw wife, but I never saw love. So I don't get caught up in that. I'm talking to them only because they've been married for 57 years. Because my parents would make you divorced after you talk to them. And they were together for 65 years, but they believed until death do we part. And that's why they were married. And see, it was a hard thing for me, and it's still difficult for me right now. Being up here with my phone not working half the time, and my mother is dying. And I believe that God is going to keep my mother alive for me to get back. You know, and I'm going to tell y'all, this is not easy to be losing my mother. For my mother to become a memory, a picture on the wall. That's still my mother. But I have to keep coming and continue to survive and continue to go on and continue to get in touch with these steps. And I mean, I'm talking about my sponsor. She spoke here 2 years ago, and she told me on this day, she said, Lynn, you're not here by accident. And she wears her flower, and she's just as graceful, and she's such a lady. And I love my sponsor because she has my back, and she taught me some things about how to be a lady and a lady of distinction. She told me, Lynn, you don't have to kill nobody today. You don't have to pay for nothing. You don't have to do nothing. You don't have to buy love. You don't have to solicit to get love. You don't have to do any of those things. And you are somebody even though you don't have nobody's last name. And that was real difficult for me to become somebody without somebody's last name. So I'm talking about having to, this second step It's a hope shot. You people have a hope shot for me. God sent me up here with you guys so that I could get some hope to know that when my mother takes her last breath, that I don't have to use. That I got the need for some faith and some sanity. That I can grow up in this process. That I don't have to go get some to the doctor, and I don't have to give me some pain pills and I'm not in pain. I don't have to let the little old lady start sponsoring me from the second step when I go searching for doctors for a prescription because the pain is too great. I can turn to my sponsor, and I can turn to you people, and I can go to God, and I can get through this thing. See, because I keep talking about my brother, because unless y'all brother has killed your mama, you don't have no idea on where I'm at, or your dad, or what I got to go through. So I had to turn my one of life over to the care of God, to help me, to be able to welcome my brother back home, because all I'm doing is enslaving me, not forgiving him. I had to forgive my brother. I had to give the young men who murdered my stepson, who got away with it because it was lack of evidence. And they were on my job. They were in my courtroom with my judge. I work with a judge. Like Mark said, please don't get a resentment. I'm not going to tell on none of y'all. I don't do that. I can't do that. I'm registered with Homeland Security. So it's a lot of stuff I can't do. And it's a lot of things, that's why I'm saying I don't share. And I hear a lot of you people share, and I be wanting to say, hold it. You need a lawyer. Don't share that. Have anybody gave you your Miranda rights yet? You need a sponsor. You need to realize what a real sponsor, don't share that. But we think it's necessary to share everything at the tables. But, when I be with my judge, she knows I'm in recovery. She knows I'm here. She respects this program. She said, because Lynn, you walk so tall, this program got to work. Because when we come into the courtroom, I was saying, Judge, don't do that. Help them. Don't put them in jail. That's not going to help them. And she listens to me. When I tell her, don't put them in jail. Don't do these things. And it's not an easy place to be when you see what I see. And you know what I know. And I had to come here, and I had to tell her to help me when it came to my son and being in the courtroom. And they knew they were going to dismiss the case. And, it's like they knew they were going to have to dismiss it because of lack of evidence. So security started surrounding me. Now, I worked there, but they want to gather around me. They knew I wanted to really get with the witnesses, and I had to watch them walk out the courtroom. And I said, the only way I'm going to get through this is I'm going to have to grow with love and forgive them. See, I'm talking about growing with love and forgiveness on a deep level. I'm talking about forgiveness for murder, forgiveness for rape, forgiveness for all kind of assaults, forgiveness. That's the only way to get through it, is to grow with love. Put some love on that hate. And it's only through the 12 steps of Narcotics Anonymous. I came in this program a married hoe, and I was in the lifestyle. The 12 steps of Narcotics Anonymous took me out the lifestyle. But God and the 12 principles and the spiritual principles wiped the hoe and the lifestyle out of me. Because I could have just been a person that was just making meats and crazy. And the serenity that goes on here, I live that way on a regular basis. It's so much serene. When I walk in my house, it's an island I go to every day called Belle Isle. I go there every single day. And I go to the water, and I pray, and that's how I get high. I have to after leaving the courtroom. I got to do something when I leave there every day, because it's a hard deal. It's a hard piece. It's hard. And I know we say things like child molesters got the right to recover. Well, you ought to swear in a child that's been molested then. You ought to watch and pray. I understand we say that all around here, and it's good and it is true until it's your child. Until it's your child. Mm-hmm. And then when it comes your child, then let me hear you say that. Because they told me that child molesters got the right to recover. And I just have to it's real. This thing here is universal. And the love I found that you got to turn your lemons into lemonade. You got to get to beauty in your ashes. You have got to learn how to turn these things around. My daughter called me about my car yesterday. Wasn't nothing I could do about it. My car's in a police pound right now. The police department impounded my car because they said it was blocking traffic. I got full coverage insurance. They put impoundment fees on me every single day that I'm here. And I just had to give it to God. Because I said, well, I got insurance. They said, well, okay, your insurance company is going to pay for it. So it wasn't nothing I could do but just walk around here and still smile, laugh with you people and say, how you doing? I said, I'm overcoming. I'm all right. Because ain't nothing else I can do about this. You want to see how a person is living, just put them in hot water. You want to see what somebody's recovery is, put some pressure in it. I'm really not impressed by all the bragging that goes on in lives of people in the program that, everything is great. I want to know how you walk, what happens when you start to drown. How do you deal with it how do you deal with no? How do you handle situations in your life when the bottom has failed out of your life? Now, I have a lot of accomplishments that I can come up here and tell you guys about. But what good is that going to do? God has done some things in my life in this process of recovery that's unspeakable and unbelievable. I remember when I had 2 years clean. And my husband had went back out and relapsed. And he told me that he relapsed, and he said, and it's your fault. And he blamed me for his relapse. He said, because you're a Vogue girl and this, that, and the other, and you stole all my friends. And he said it was my fault to use. And he said, I want you to get out of the house. Because I had left the house that I owned, moved in with him on a rent, because I just I'm just crazy and blind. He said, you got to get out of here. So I remember leaving out. I ain't had no money because I had depleted all my money because my husband at that time, he didn't have any money. He didn't have no education. And because I had come from a lifestyle of hustling and other women, I told him he didn't have to pay nothing but attention to me. I will pay everything. And I was broke. So I had no money. And he had took all the money out the bank and went and got high. And he put me out. But I had a relationship with God that didn't bring me this far to fail me. I remember my coworker told me, she said, Lynn, it's the house next door to me that's vacant. But my friend is going to get it. You can go look at it. And I remember going to look at this house, and that's why they say, what color is clean? And this person was of a different color than me. And I had prayed, and I went to this house, and I had 2 years clean. I said, ma'am, I've been put out the house, me and my 4 children. I need a place to stay. I've been an abused wife. And she said, don't say nothing else to me. She said, God told me to bless someone. Now, there were people who told me, Lynn, you need excellent credit. You need first month rent and security deposit. You need a credit score of this amount of money. And plus, he's not going to let you leave him without him trying to kill you. And I said, I don't care what your God tell you that you need. But my God told me he going to come down under and meet me where I'm at. And I went on blind faith. And I went to this place with no money and no credit. And she said, God told me to bless you. She said, I'm not going to rent you my house. I'm going to give you my house. She said she has paid 15 years in the mortgage. She said, I'm going to quit claim this house over to you. I said, ma'am, please, don't play with me like that. She says, no, I'm going to give you this house. It was a 4-bedroom brick house with a full basement, a fireplace, a 2.5-car garage. It was also in foreclosure. She said, I'm going to get this house out of foreclosure. She said, I live in Holly, Michigan. I don't need this house. She said, God has been good to me. And I'm going to bless you with this house. She said, I'm going to sign it over and I'm going to give it to you. My coworker was mad. She was so mad. She said, You're not going to live next. That's my girlfriend's house. And so she went to her and my girlfriend. And some people say that money talks and bull crap walks. But if you got a God like mine, she offered her $3,000 just to move in. She said, I'll give you $3,000 just to let me have this place. She said, I don't want your money and I don't need your money. I have given this house to Lynn and her children. And me and my children stayed in that house for 11 years. And I'm talking about the miracles of this program. I just came back from Kansas City, Kansas. Atkinson, Kansas, and I was there, and I was speaking at that convention, and everybody was a different color than me. But you would have never known how well they treated me with love. And when I got to the airport, these guys, they came up, they was tattooed all up. You know, they had all these tattoos on them. They had on they gear like they rode the motorcycle. And they was like, are you Lynn? I'm like, yeah. I said, they like, give me a hug. And so I gave them a hug, and they hugged me. And they said, we're going to take you to the convention. And it was going on back these dark dirt roads. And I was like, Lord, please don't let these people be the Klan. Oh my God. And we ended up at our destination. And these people treated me with so much love. That was the first convention I had ever went to where they had tailgating parties in the parking lot. They was out in the parking lot tailgating and barbecuing and drinking pop and everything. And I was like, wow, this is cool. And I did the banquet in some blue jeans. You know, everybody wore blue jeans to the banquet. It was cool. And it was just, I like this program. I'm talking about the love that I have experienced since I have been in this program. That's why clean has no color. It just has no color. It doesn't make a difference what your occupation is or nothing. People have been there for me. The love that I have got here from everybody has been just unbelievable, you know. And everything has just been so much love, and it's been so needed. And I just want to tell you that, you know, you don't have to use even if you want to use. You know, even if you don't have to use. I have a daughter that's supposed to have multiple sclerosis, and they're trying to diagnose her. But that's a hard illness to diagnose. So she has quite a few lesions on her brain, you know. And periodic times she goes where she gets blind and where she can't walk, and it's real painful when she has these attacks and they don't know what it is and what it's called, and I just can't pick up about it. I can't pick up no dope. I can't pick up no casino, no second job. You know, like the second step talks about, we begin to experience the pain of living without dope or anything to replace it. And, you know, my daughter is doing a lot better right now than she has been doing. And I'm real grateful to God, because if you haven't heard the doctors say your daughter's not going to make it through the night, you don't know what that feels like. That's another no matter what. Hold on, newcomers, and buckle up. I wish I can tell you that you're here now, that everything gonna be all right. And everything is gonna be all right. But it's gonna get good. It's gonna get better. It's gonna get real. It's gonna get real. It's gonna get so real, but you just can't use about it. Get you a network of people. I got some soldiers in my life. I got some people that can take a licking and keep on ticking. I got some people that's got some bounce back and some comeback on them. That's in my corner. I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for the loving, caring people in my life, like my sponsor that's helping me where I'm at in this process right now. You know, I had a pay cut. I had a 20% pay cut. That's a real big pay cut. That's almost $1,000 a month. And up until that point, I was recovering my butt off. I was so spiritual in nature. You know, I was just angelic, as you can think. The love of money is the root of all evil, and so is the lack of it. All kind of things started coming to my head. Hitting the lick, turning the trick, getting a sack, and getting on my back. Started coming to my head. I mean, I couldn't believe it. I've got all these conflicts of interest. Where's this thing's coming from? Because I hadn't been faced with this dilemma. I had never, in the first time in my recovery, I was faced with how am I going to make it? For the first time in my recovery, I was faced with that. I had never been faced with that before. How am I going to make it? I've lost homes in this process. I've lost cars in this process, but that was because I had amnesia. It wasn't because I didn't have the money to pay for it. It's just that when my daughter told me that my husband had been molesting her, I lost my mind. My mind left. I just didn't know how to think anymore. And I lost my house, my car was repossessed, and everything. And then I went and got me another car, and I thought that was the way to do it, because I needed to get me a Cadillac with some Vogue rims on it. And, I had no insurance. That's why I'm saying I'm grateful I got some insurance, because the GMAC called me and said, Miss Kane, I heard you don't have any insurance. I said, no, I don't. But I'm going to get some next week when I get paid. They said, oh, okay. I didn't know they was going to repossess the car the next day because I ain't had no insurance. They came and I was like, wait a minute, where you going with my car? They took the car, and it's like I done been through a lot of that in this process. But this time here, I didn't know how I was going to make it. And I was crying because I was going to the meetings and it was hard. And there's a lot of tricks in our meetings. And they solicit when they're sharing about how much money they make. You know what I'm saying? How much their checks was, how much their income tax checks was, how much they cost of living checks, and they pull out money, and they pull out all these wands with a 50 on the other side, and they peel the wand off and they put it in seventh tradition. And I'm like, Lord, help me with this. Help me with this now. And then at that time they kicked me off my payment plan for my gas because I'm trying to pay my house note. All my bills I had large bills because I had the money to pay them. And they cut my gas off. And when they cut my gas off, that was the first time my gas had been cut off since I've been in recovery. And I told a few people, I said, they came and cut my gas off. I didn't know my gas was off. I thought something was wrong with my furnace. So I called another addict in the program who worked on furnaces. And I said, my furnace is broke. And he came over, he checked it out. He said, your furnace ain't broke. Your gas is off. I said, no. He said, you're supposed to be in recovery. Got 17 years clean with your gas off, working for the court. But you know what? I had no fight. I just broke down crying. And I guess he felt really bad about the way he was scolding me, about how my gas was off, and about my kids being gone away from the home. I was there, and I didn't want to do anything out the way. So I went and bought some heaters. And for 6 weeks, this past winter, I stayed in my big house with no gas on, to get my gas back on. And I was telling some people, and I went to some agencies, and they told me that you make too much money. I don't care if you got a pay cut. Your gas is off because you mismanaged your money. And I was hurting, and I was embarrassed, and I was ashamed. And my kids, they told me, they said, Mama, we gonna call Uncle so-and-so over. You ain't getting ready to live like this. And I'm saying, Mama, don't. They say, Mama, we calling so-and-so to cut your gas back on. I said, you can't cut my gas back on like that. And while we're in court and landlord-tenant cases, and this lady was talking about, ma'am, my gas is on legally, because I had to do what I had to do for my kids. And I was looking at her, I was like, damn, she knows somebody. So I'm trying to be professional, at the same time, and trying to get the bailiff to kind of, look, hey, get her number. Her number for me. And he's like, what you want with her number? I'm like, what you? He didn't get her number. And I want to just get up out the courtroom and just run. Ma'am, please, I need that hookup you got. But God I cried, and I'm talking about my God. I called the gas company, DTE, and I told them, I said, look, I need some help. My kids had went on ahead and called who they called to turn my gas on, and I couldn't live like that because I got to do the right thing for the right reasons. I was about to tell on myself to the DTE company, and I told them, I said, I need my gas on. They said, your gas is already on. I said, damn, they know. How did they find out? Only been on a week. I said, yes, it is? I said, yeah, you're right, it is on. He said, yes, we turned your gas on in your name. They told me 3 weeks ago, and I want to say you a lie. My kids just turned my gas on illegal last week. But I couldn't say that. I said, wait a minute, you turned my gas on in my name when? 3 weeks ago? Okay, and you said everything was legit. What's the problem? God had worked it out for me. And I didn't even have to say nothing, but they were lying though. They had not turned, my gas was not on when they said it was on, it was not on. But I couldn't argue about it because it was wrong. It was on wrong, but it was on right at the right time. God worked it out. And I was so messed up because I'm telling you, I sat there in that courtroom. My kids say, Mama, we turned your gas on. You ain't going to live like that. I sat in that doggone courtroom. And when they came up in there, when DT would walk in the courtroom and we're having this case for fraud, of gas fraud, I was like, oh, God. I go in the bathroom like, please, Lord, don't let them catch me. I'm a coward. I can't do anything wrong. You know, when I called somebody today and I was telling somebody, I said, you know, I got to get my car fixed. They said, look, I got the hookup. I know somebody that you can get, they'll charge the insurance company this amount, and they'll give you that amount, and you can split it with them. I said, I can't live like that. See, it's the first one. It's the first time I started being his slick. Because if you take the L out of slick, it's sick. It's the first time I got to do the right thing. I got to do the right thing because it's the right thing to do. I'm in recovery today. I'm a recovering addict. I don't just talk this talk. I got to walk this walk. And it's been hard, and we won our case against my job, and we getting all our back pay money back. We got our money back. Our checks is no longer cut. And I am just so grateful. I don't know what to do. Because it was real hard for me. I didn't know how I was going to make it. I was going to give up my house. And God gave me that house too. Because see, when I left the last house, because my daughter couldn't live in my house because my husband had came in the house and was molesting her. I thought that she was just being bad. I didn't know she was being molested, so she couldn't live there. So I let the house go. I let it go. I said, I can't live here anymore because God told me to. And I was riding down the street because I wanted to live by my parents to take care of them. And they was working on this house. And I said, hey, what y'all going to do with this house? They said, hey, Lynn. I said, I know. You said, yeah, we went to elementary school and junior high school together. I said, did we? I don't remember. I said, okay. What y'all going to do with this house? I said, you want this house? I said, yeah, I want the house. And it was a house that they was renovating. They was putting in new floors, new windows, new roof, new everything. And it was a big house, like 3,000 square feet, 5 bedrooms. And I said, yeah, I want this house. I was right by my mother. And I said, don't play with me. He said, oh, ye of little faith. And God gave me that house. But it wasn't without opposition. Whatever God got for me is opposition in the way to get me to quit. See, I know some people think that with God's will is easy and it comes simple. Not for me. God's will is rough for me. It's all kind of blocks. It tells me this ain't God. If I was going, I wouldn't have came here. I had all kind of blocks and bumps. I would have thought it wasn't God. And I come anyway because I'm not a quitter. Quitters never win and winners never quit. And I got that house, and I'm in that house now, and I'm taking care, and I'm living right down the street from my mother, and I live on a street. I live right on the corner, 3 houses off a corner of a street that's named after the guy I just broke up with. And if anybody got any experience with that, I wish they could help me, because it's real hard. It's real difficult. When I come out the house and I look at the street sign, I want to shoot it down. And my girlfriend, they said, Lynn, shoot the street sign down. And I said, well, that's malicious destruction of property. I call everything by its real name. That's because I'm in the courts. You might say just knock it down. I said, all they're going to do is put the street sign back up. And when I met this guy, I thought that it was God. That I'm in love with this man, and look, his name is on the street sign. And when he came to my house, he stood there and he looked there, he put his finger up, and he had me take his picture so he could send it to his mother. We just knew it was God. And I'm like, dang, I'm like, now this sign here, this street sign, I'm like, God, what you gonna do now? Well, you got a hell of a sense of humor with me living here, and this street sign is named after this man that I'm really hurting over. I'm in a fetal position standing up. How am I supposed to get through this? I can't move. I called my sponsor. I said, is anybody you can help me? Is anybody you know is in love with a man that's living on the street, or a woman living on the street named after them? They say, no, I can't. I don't know nobody. I can help you, with that land. And so I would get mad when I think about him and another woman, and whoever he has replaced me with. My fear of replacement was so great, being replaced. I dare you replace me, and so I would get in my car and I would just drive up and down the street. I'm running him over. I'm driving up and down the street, and I'll go back home, and I feel a little bit better because I done drove up and down the street, and I was running him over. And I said, Lord, but today I look at the street sign, and it's just a street sign. We do recover. Now, had I moved, I would not have gotten the power I got over the street sign. I would be running from every street sign I can find. Because, see, I know what I'm running from, but you don't know what you're running into. God told me he won't heal. He can't heal what I refuse to feel. I got to feel, deal, and heal in this process. I got to jump into the pain. I got to embrace it. I can't run from it. Like the brother was talking about grief. Grief is a bad thing, and it's something that addicts don't like to do. And they would tell me to move on, let it go. Well, why did you let it go? Because what you did, you went to next. And you calling it moving on. And next and moving on look like identical twins. But you want to talk to me. And grief is a bad dude, like he talks about. He talks about in the third step, there's times where you have to go through the death of a loved one or the end of a relationship. It says no amount of spiritual. It talks about that grieving process. And when my dad died, people said he's at a better place. I said, well, you kill yourself and go there. I had to go through what I had to go through. I'm in a grief support group. I'm real grateful for that. They told me it's okay to feel and it's okay to deal. It's okay to cry because tears water the soul. See, I'm not afraid of pain. Pain don't put me on the run. I welcome it because I know on the other side of that pain is a promise. I know on the other side of that pain, God is going to give me some strength of something I can use again and again that I don't have to use no matter what. Because through all these processes I've experienced, I have not had to use through the marriage, through the divorce, through the desertion, through the bankruptcy, through the foreclosure, through the rape, through the murders, through all of those things. I haven't had to use through the gossip, being on the NA Gazette. I was even in the NA website, when they had made in Michigan about people who had stole money from DACNA. Just because they asked me, did I want to have a suite to stay in? I said, of course. I'll pay half. They put my name first. This is Lynn. Had it all misspelled and had me in a room. We will do all kind of stuff to slandering people, but you got to keep coming back. I had to keep coming back and love everybody that hated me, love everybody who talked about me, who criticized me, because they didn't know no better. Because if they knew better, they would do better. And all those who judged me and took my inventory had to come later on and ask me, how did you get through that? Because those who judge don't matter, and those that matter don't judge. They just don't. I'm going to share this, and I'm not going to say too much more. I'm going to Dallas, Texas in 3 weeks. They having It's an anniversary, a 24-hour group. They got a 24-hour group there, and they're having an anniversary, and they're having a convention. And they're calling it a banquet, and they're flying me there, and they're having a party. In my honest, you got to take off Friday. We're going to have a party at the ranch for you on Thursday night. I said, a party at the ranch? You got to be, yeah, we're going to barbecue a hog. We're going to give you some good old Texas hospitality. I said, is that right? They said, yeah, we got the pool out here in the backyard. We're going to have a pool party, and we got the hot tub, and it's going to be 100 degrees, and we're going to treat you real good. You're going to pick you up from the airport. They had that little accent, you know. And I said, oh, well, let me go. I might get me an oil man. You know, I'm going to Texas. I said, okay. Here I come, Texas. I had never been to Texas, and they told me they're going to take me here and there, and I said, okay, I'm coming. I wasn't going to come, because they said, you're going to stay at this guy's house. I said, stay at the guy's house. Wait a minute. I don't do that. They said, no, you and the Friday night speaker, and, you know, and whoever you could bring with you, we're going to stay at this guy's house. He got a ranch with a pool for Friday night, and you know, for Thursday night, and then Friday and Saturday, you'll be at the hotel. I said, okay, but I've never stayed at a man's house that I wasn't sleeping with since I've been clean. I don't know. And they said, we're not going to bother you. Bring somebody with you. I said, okay, fine. My sponsee's coming, and she's going to stay with me, and she's coming in from New Orleans. And we walked that Katrina thing down with them, and I was in Mobile, Alabama, and they had a Katrina reunion, and it was awesome to see all the displaced addicts that came from around the country come together at a convention. It was like being at a family reunion. They were screaming and hollering when they saw each other. They didn't know where each other's were. It was so awesome how they did that, and listen to some of them tales that they went through. Nobody got no reason to use. If them folks did not use, they got some hell of a story. Don't nobody got a right to use. I mean, I listen to them women talk about, my sponsee said, Lynn, the water is coming in on me. Right, it's coming in fast. I'm saying, get out the house. Move, leave. It was a frightening thing, but she's going to come, and she's going to stay with me in Texas, June the 16th. 17th and 18th and the 15th, and it's Father's Day weekend. And it'll be the first Father's Day in 4 years that I haven't been in the bed. God said, Lynn, it's time to get out to bed. I'm going to have you in another state, not just another city. You're not going to be in the bed, because my father asked me not to mourn him. You know, my dad, what time is it? My dad was a hell of a guy. He marched with Dr. Martin Luther King. My father went up against the Klan, segregation, Jim Crow, but he had a son with the disease of addiction that took his life. And before he died, he said, Lynn, keep up the struggle. He thinks this is the struggle. He thinks what I'm doing is the struggle of the disease of addiction. He said, keep up the struggle, Lynn. Don't keep hope alive. And that's what I told him. I promised him that's what I was going to do. And at his funeral, he wanted us to sing, We Shall Overcome. And that's what we sang. That was his favorite song, We Shall Overcome. So I grew up in that environment of the struggle. And when he left here, he left that instilled in me. That I promised him that with this disease, I was going to go everywhere I could go so that this disease wouldn't have to kill nobody else's family member. Like it killed mine, hid under the cloak of codependency, looking like love. Because my father really believed, because he was so high in the politics, and because, you know, the United States Senate gave him plaques, and the House of Representatives gave him all kind of medals and gave them to us, and I wasn't raised to be no addict. He really believes that the CIA put me and my brother on dope. Oh, he believes that. He honestly believes that. He believed that to the day he died, because he believed that that's what they did. And so I couldn't tell him anything different, but I know that I'm going to stand tall like my father wants me to do, and like he would want me to do. And I'm going to forgive. And I'm going to grow with love. I'm going to continue to grow with love and let go and let God, like the third step talks about. I'm going to feel and deal and heal. And I'm not going to use no matter what. And you don't ever have to use again, newcomers. You safe. You don't ever, ever, ever have to use again. Even if somebody say, I don't want you no more. Love don't live here no more. Even if somebody say, I love you, I want you to be with me for the rest of my life. You still don't have to use. You got to make amends. You got to let it go. See, I got even. That's how come I got messed up. I was getting even with my first husband, marrying my second husband. Y'all told me to move on. That's what I did. So when I rolled past my first husband's house in a limo, standing through the sunroof, saying I was married now, like they did on Color Purple. And he looked at me and said, how could you do that? The disease of addiction was in the car with me too. He knew I had a child molester. He knew I had a brother on the down low. So for me to even love again and break up is a miracle. Because once you've been bit by the down low bug, you've been bit, baby. People can talk about it, they ain't never been there. And laugh at the book and make jokes about it, but baby, the down low brother looked just like the heterosexual brother. They talk alike and they walk alike. And you can't tell them apart. So I had to go to God. Because I can't find a man that's willing to tell me, I want you, and no, I don't want no other woman, and I don't want no other man either. They don't want to say that. That's disgusting. That's insulting to them. But that's how far the disease took me. So I have to keep coming because God ain't through with me yet. And I'm going to keep coming, and I ain't going to use. And I'm just going to, and people say, why she keep sharing that? Well, when you get with a down low brother, then you'll know why I'm sharing it. Because it's real. That pain took me to the mental institution. It took me to another level. That's why today I walk with my head up high. I have no hips, lips, or fingertips in my life. And it ain't because I don't want to. And I'm not getting ready to do a celibate piece forever. I'm not going to say you that lie. I'm not going to do that, but I don't have sex with an understanding because it turns into a misunderstanding. I don't have sex with my friends. I don't have any friends with benefits. I'm a next to kin. I am not a girlfriend. So I have to get that straight and established up front so we won't get no misunderstanding about this whole thing. And I'm going to say this, and I'm going to close. I want you guys to continue to pray for me and my family. Life is not easy for me right now. It's real, real, real hard. I'm losing the person who brought me into this world. And I don't know I'm going to make it, but I'm going to make it. I'm going to make it. I'm going to miss my mama, but I'm going to make it. And I'm going to say this, Lord, when adversities come, help me to see through it all. Your hands are creating a diamond out of me. I've never seen the rainbow till after I've seen some rain. I've never felt the healing powers until I felt some pain. I've never seen daylight until after the night. And I'll never know victory until after the fight. Thanks for letting me share.